बृहस्पति प्रदिशासन्तु मह्यम्। ॐ रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीताय पतये नमः। मल्लति मल्लिता जाति शतपत्रादिसंयुतं पुष्पाञ्जलिं ग्रहणेश तव पादायुगर्पितम्। ॐ मल्लत्यादि सुगन्धिनी मालत्यादीनि वै प्रभु मया हृतानि पूजार्थम्। रुद्रां पशुपतिं स्थानं नीलकण्ठमुमापतिं नमामि शिरसा देवं किं नो मृत्यो करिष्यते। रुद्राक्षाय नमः पुष्पमालाञ्जलिभ्यं समर्पयामि। चन्दनस्तु महत्पुण्यं पवित्रं पापनाशनम् आपदां हरते नित्यं लक्ष्मी वसतु सर्वदा। बोले सियापति रामचंद्र भगवान की जय। प्लीज बी सीटेड। We all will join in चंद्र भगवान की जय, राधा कृष्ण भगवान की जय, भवानी शंकर भगवान की जय। प्रेम से बोलो पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, सत्य सनातन धर्म की जय।
ओम प्रणम्य प्रणम्य शिरसा देवं गौरीपुत्रं विनायकं भक्ताभास्करे नित्यं आयुर्कामार्थसिद्धये नमामि शमीशाय निर्मलरूपं प्रभुङ्गान्तकं ब्रह्मवेदस्वरूपं निजं निर्गुणान्ते विकल्पं Ramayan
I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to the very first night of the 6th-night reading of the Ramcharitmanas. I'd like to personally thank you, and this is my first time ever doing this, right? So, to you, this is maybe, I'd like to thank you for 2 reasons. Tonight, this was maybe a regular Tuesday night for you at Mandir, but to me, it's very special, right? So that's one. Secondly, for most of us, school had started today. And tonight, actually at 6 p.m., I actually have a night class, right? So I'd like to thank you for making me skip that class because I don't like accounting, right? So thank you for that. So throughout this week, as all the other guys come up here as well, we'll see a certain theme that Sri Ram portrays in the Ramayana. Now as we dive into Balakan, the very first Kand, we see Sri Ram as an ideal child. But before we can dive into that, we must feel the right vibrations. So please join with me in this very simple and beautiful bhajan. Tulsidashi gives us the story of the child of Ram, he takes time to talk about the birth and the story of Ravana. Now, why does he do this? Ravana was born to kidnap Sita Ma, which ultimately led to his death. So why should we even care about this? And the reason for this is that in order to understand good, or in order to appreciate good, we must understand what bad is. So by understanding the birth of Ravana, we appreciate the birth of Ram. There's a quote saying that a smart man will learn from his mistakes. However, a wise man will learn from the mistakes of others. So Tulsidashi wants us to be that wise man and learn from the mistakes of Ravana. So because it's so detailed, I'll only give you a small synopsis. Vividam Draganga Kara Amisha Radha Tehi Mahu Vipramasu Kalasadam Bhojan Kavu Sapa Vipra Bulai Parapakari Sadar Betai. Once there was a king by the name of Pratap Bhanu had asked for a boon to be immortal and to never be conquered in battle. Now the sage that he had asked this wish for had granted him this wish. However, he said there is one catch to it. He said that Brahmins were also smart. He said that if they choose to, they can take this boon back from you. So a question here is that, why did Pratap Bhanu ask to be immortal? What is the purpose of living forever? There's some people in this world that the longer they live, the more money they make. An example of this is the Queen of England, right? The longer she lives, the longer she will be in power, and the more money she makes. Unfortunately, there are people who cannot even wait to die because of the situations or the circumstances they live in. So just by seeing what people ask for, we can understand what their mindset is like. So if someone were to give you a boon, what would you guys ask for? So as Pratap Bhanu went home, he had this in mind, and he said to have a dinner for 100,000 Brahmins in order to please them all. However, the very same sage that he had asked his wish for had tricked Pratap Bhanu into serving, instead of vegetarian food, he served tamasic food. Tamasic food being, meat. So as soon as these Brahmins had recognized what had been done, they immediately rose and cursed Pratap Bhanu. He said, Pratap Bhanu, in your next life, you will be born into a family of demons. However, the king, he explained to the Brahmins that he was tricked by the sage, and he pleaded for forgiveness. However, we all know that when we say something, we cannot take it back. It is said that this king Pratap Bhanu will be born as the 10-headed demon Ravana. The king's brother, Mardana, will be born as Kumbhakarna. The king's minister, Dharmaruchi, became Ravana's younger half-brother, Vibhishana. Now, as time went by, Ravana was born, but he was born into a pure and holy house. However, the curse of the Brahmins had still been into play. One day, after extreme penance done by Ravana and his two brothers, Brahma had recognized her efforts and asked them what boon did they wish for. Ravana, he clasped his hands, and he requested that he must die by the hands of a man or monkey alone. Now, he thought that if he never had this boon at all, he shouldn't worry about a man or a monkey, because there's nothing to worry about. He is greater than that, right? So here we see his ego at this point being the cause of his own death in the future. Ravana had an army. He by day, more people would join his army, and he ended up conquering Lanka. This wreaked havoc on the entire world, right? All the devotees were in fear. They felt as if no one was there to help them. But as we all know, as the darkness of the night falls, light will shine again with time. Tulsidashi explains all this in his very beautiful chant, so join with me. Jai Jai Surnayak Jana Sukhidayak Pranay Depal Bhagavanta Godvijit Kari Jaya Surari Sindhu Sutta Priyakanta Jai Jai Surnayak Jana Sukhidayak Pranay Depal Bhagavanta Godvijit Kari Jaya Surari story where all the gods, rishis and munis, running to Vishnu Bhagwan in a pitiful state. First they praised him, then they pleaded for help. Vishnu Bhagwan states to all the scared rishis and munis, he states, "Fear not, my devotees, for your sake I will assume the form of a man with every element of my divinity." Vishnu Bhagwan is answering the prayers of the sages. It shows us that in time of need, he will always find a way to protect us. There's a saying that fear is the foundation of safety. Let me ask you guys a question. Why do you guys have an alarm system in your house? It is because you fear getting robbed, right? Here we see the fear of Ravana instilled within these rishis and munis, later being their foundation of safety. Now this brings us to an interesting question, right? All the gods, all the rishis and munis were pleading for Vishnu Bhagwan for help at that moment. Why didn't Vishnu Bhagwan come down to earth and kill Ravana that very same day? Why did they have to wait for so many years for Ram to be born, to grow up, then for them to be satisfied with their prayers? In order to understand this, I'll give you a little analogy. If you notice already, don't tell anybody, okay? So once, there was a dog and an elephant, right? They both set to give birth at the same time, at the very same day. Now 6 months passed and the dog delivered all his puppies. However, the elephant remained the same. 9 months passed and the dog's children grew up to be adult dogs. However, the elephant remained the same again. So the dog goes up to the elephant and says, "Are you sure you're set to give birth? Because my children have already grown up and you have remained the same." And the elephant says, "What I have within me is not as within you. When I receive my blessings, it is larger than yours because I'm a larger animal. So therefore, my process takes longer than yours." We always have a saying that if you pray today, we want today, right? But that doesn't necessarily happen. We must understand that when we see other people being blessed, it does not mean that we won't, but it means our time is coming. So let's say you're in a long line at H&M in Square One, and you're at the back of the line, right? Each person that gets cashed out doesn't mean you're not going to get cashed out. It means you're one step closer to being doing so. So we must understand this with 4 P's, right? This reminds us of 4 P's. It's patience, perseverance, persistence, and the last one I added in was prayer. Patience is that we must always be patient. Perseverance, we must never give up with what we do. Persistence, we must be consistent with what we do and what we believe in. And last one is prayers, and this is why we're all here today, right? So devotees and friends, the prayers of the world were answered when they heard the coming of Sri Ram. Let us look at what Tulsidashi said in this Chaupaya. Jai Ram Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Ram Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Avarapuri Raghukulam Muni Ram, Avarapuri Raghukulam Muni Ram. In the city of Ayodhya, there reigned a king who was a jewel of Raghu's race. He was called Dasharatha, a name renowned in the Vedas. He was a sincere devotee of Vishnu Bhagavan, and his mind was always set on him. King Dasharatha was indeed sad that he had no sons at such an old age. Pleading to his guru Vashishta for advice, says Vashishta states, "Take heart and wait. You will have 4 sons who will be known throughout the 3 worlds and will relieve all votaries of fear." We all know the story. As King Dasharatha was performing Havan, Agnidev appeared from the flames and gave him a bowl of kheer. And he states, "Whatever Vashishta has proposed to you will fully be accomplished." Now, as Sri Ram was born, Tulsidas Ji describes the reaction of King Dasharatha so beautifully. He states that the entire city of Ayodhya were flooded with joy and happiness. Tulsidas Ji states that Ayodhya shined so bright with happiness and joy that when night came, it became twilight as the light of the city and the darkness of the night countered each other. King Dasharatha was so overwhelmed with happiness that he had granted anything to anybody. It is at this point is where we see happiness and light prevailing over the world. The torment of Ravana is no longer instilled upon everybody. As Sri Ram, as he grew up into a little toddler, we all know that he was such a handful. Running from room to room, Kaushilya could barely keep up. I'll play you a small bhajan. This beautiful bhajan depicts this scene.
तुमके चलते राग चंद्र बाजत में जनिया तुमके चलते राग चंद्र तुमके चलते राग चंद्र बाजत में जनिया तुमके चलते राग
As Prabhu Sri Ram grew into a young adult, he continues to portray the qualities of an ideal child. Being initiated into the brahmachari stage along with his brothers, Sri Ram mastered the Vedas. Also being a Kshatriya, he mastered the art of archery. Now one day, somebody showed up at the doors of the palace. What does Tulsidas say? Ahu mis dego parajani kari binati ano do bai jnana virag sakala guna ayana so prabhu mein dekha bari nayana. Once there was a sage by the name of Vishwamitra who resided in the forest. There he practiced japa and yoga. However, every time he would practice havan, the demons, Madesha and Subahu, would interrupt his ritual by throwing blood and bones into the fire. Vishwamitra states that only Ram and Lakshmana can slay these demons. As such, he went to King Dasharatha's palace. Here is where the sage Vishwamitra made his request of having Ram and Lakshmana accompanying him. King Dasharatha said, Tulsidasi states that King Dasharatha has heard the most unappealing demand ever. King Dasharatha states that, I will give you land, cattle, jewels and treasure, but nothing is more dear to me than my sons. King Dasharatha's excuse was that, no, my sons are too young and they're not ready to fight yet. If they go into the forest, they will get hurt. There's a quote saying that a child will follow the dad's example more than his advice. King Dasharatha gives the example of being compassionate. Right? So, later in due time, his 4 sons will follow the same thing. Although King Dasharatha gives this request, he does it as in an act of fatherly defense. He does save his sons. However, King Dasharatha cannot deny this request from his guru, and the boys were also very eager to help the sage, as it is their sole purpose to be on this earth. Now, as Ram and Lakshmana enter the forest, they tell Vishwamitra to continue his havan. As he continues havan, Maricha sees this and approaches him with an army of demons. As Lord Ram sees this, he takes his bow and shoots Maricha with a headless arrow, hitting him in the chest, sending him 800 miles away. Lord Ram and Lakshmana defeated all the demons, ridding all the Brahmins that lived in the forest free. As days and days went by, Lord Ram and Lakshmana remained in the forest as they listened to the stories of the Brahmins. This shows us that we must be, humble and very simple, because Sri Ram is all-knowing. He knows everything. However, he would still sit with the Brahmins and learn from them and hear the teachings they have to say. There's a saying that if we are smart, we should also be humble, because you can learn something new every day. All of us here are educated in many different fields, right? But that does not mean that you are smarter than you. We are equal on all bases, regardless of what we know. So Lord Ram gives us this example to be humble by sitting with the Brahmins. One day, Lord Rama and Vishwamitra were journeying in the forest. And something very important happened. Tulsidasi tells us,
Jai Ram Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Ram Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Ashante Prati Marg Mari, Ashante Prati Marg Mari.
Along the way, Sri Ram and Vishwamitra stumbled upon an empty hermitage, a hermitage being a religious place. Now, no birds, no creatures, or nothing were present in this place. Everything was missing but this one big rock right in the middle of the land. So the Lord was confused and he asked Vishwamitra, what was this about? Gautam Nari Shabhavasya Upaladaiha Dahidhir Charana Kamala Raja Chahita Kripa Karabu Raghubir. Vishwamitra states that sage Gautam's wife, named Ahilya, was turned to a stone by a curse and is patiently logging the dust of your lotus feet for her to return to normal. Prabhu Shri Ram, without even a moment of hesitation, he places his foot on the rock. Immediately emerged Ahilya, right, with clasped hands and tears in her eyes. She said she was so overwhelmed with love and gratefulness that she was unable to even utter a single word. Ahilya states that it is a sage that pronounced the curse on me, and I count it as great favor, for I have feasted my eyes on honey. Ahilya states that she did not mind being turned to a rock because it meant that she would be relieved by Bhagwan Ram himself in the end. So I ask you guys a question. How many of you guys would go through hardships just to be with Bhagwan at the end? For Ahilya, what happened to her happened for the best because, as it turned out, Prabhu Shri Ram relieved her himself. We must understand that when we go through things, we must see it as whatever happens for the best. Now I'll give you a little story. Once there was a king and a minister. Whenever the king would go through any sort of situation, the minister would say, "O king, everything happens for the best." One day as he went horseback riding, the king fell off the horse. And the minister said, "O king, everything happens for the best." The next day, the king was sword fighting and he accidentally cut himself. The minister then said, "O king, whatever happens for the best." Now in a fit of rage and annoyance, the king took the minister and he threw him in a jail cell. He said, "I don't have time with you." So that very same day, he went horseback riding. Now as he went into the forest, the tribal people of that forest had captured the king. They captured him in an act for sacrifice. However, as they're about to sacrifice him, they noticed the cut on his hand. And according to their tradition, they cannot sacrifice him because he is impure. He has a cut on him. So they released him. The king went on his horse and rode all the way back to the palace. And he released his minister. He said, "O minister, I thank you for making me realize this. Because if I not had this cut on my hand, I would have died today." And the minister said, "No, king, I thank you. Because if you had not locked me in this jail cell, I would have gone with you horseback riding. I would have been killed because I had no cuts on me." So we see that everything in this world happens for the best. Whether it may be good or bad, we must try to see it that way. And now devotees, as Lord Ram grows up to be a young man, it is time for him to find an ideal Dharmapatni. We sing,
Jai Ram Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Ram Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Guru
Now many refer to Tulsidas Ji as the greatest poet ever. And it is because the way he describes the first encounter of Ram and Sita gives him this name. So beautifully he describes it. One day, as Ram, Lakshmana, and Vishwamitra went on their journey to bathe in the Ganges, they stumbled upon the city of Janakpur. As they entered, instantly they were mesmerized by the beauty of the city. Tulsidas states, inexpressibly beautiful was the city of Janakpur, splendid markets and wondrous balconies, all studded with jewels. Lakshmana was so eager to go in the city of Janakpur. Just like how most of us, when we go to Toronto, we take our camera to take pictures of the CN Tower, just like Lakshmana wanted to see the city of Janakpur. However, today was no ordinary day, as the kingdom of Janakpur was preparing for a tournament. This tournament is breaking of Shiva's bow. Now whoever is able to lift Shiva's bow, string it and break it, will win the hands of Sita Ma in marriage. As Lord Ram and Lakshmana were gazing upon the beautiful preparations of the tournament, they had lost track of time and went back to Vishwamitra. However, the next morning, as they prepared for puja, Vishwamitra sent them to the royal garden to pick flowers. And who did they see there? While they were picking flowers, Sita Ma had arrived with her friends to pick flowers as well for Bhumi Puja. It is at this point that Sri Ram caught the first glimpse of Sita Ma. Tulsidas states that when the Lord saw Sita's beauty, he was filled with rapture and admired her in his heart, but utterance failed him. He felt as though Brahma had put all his creative skills towards her alone. It is when Sita Ma had saw Sri Ram, she was so anxious to see him, but when he finally saw her, she states that her eyes grew tired gazing at Sri Ram's charm. Realizing how late it had been, Sita Ma had hurried home without even saying a single word to Sri Ram. Tulsidas states, however, as Sita Ma went home, she immediately performed Bhumi Puja.
Jai Jai Giribale Raj Kisori Jai Mahesh Mukha Chanda Chakori Jai Gajabandhana Shatanand Mata Jagat Janani Damini Bhuti Garta Jagat Janani Damini Bhuti Garta.
Sita Ma praises and praises Bhumi Ma for her tremendous qualities. It is said that in older times, it was custom for a bride to perform Bhumi Puja before marriage, asking for her blessings. This same ritual is also reassured in Bhagavad Puran, where as it states that the bride should also do so. Today, we perform Bhakti-Pur, right, in order to ask Bhumi Ma for her blessings. Now, overcome with humility, Bhavani Ma gave her this sign. What was this sign? Bhavani Ma's garland fell from her shoulders and was placed onto Sita's mom. The smiling Murti spoke to her, and she states, your heart's desire shall be fulfilled. The suitor on whom your heart is set shall indeed be yours. As Sita Ma and Sri Ram looked at each other, instantly they fell in love. However, Sita Ma reassured this love by communicating to Bhavani Ma. By doing so, in the future they can continue their relationship, as you all know. You know, in today's society we always hear people saying that they love God, which is completely fine, but what is love if there's no communication, right? So I'll give you a little story, it's a little cheesy. Right, so there's a boy on the bus, and just like Sita Ma, every time he would see this girl, he fell in love with her. All her appearances, he loved her. However, he never had the courage to talk to her. He loved her, but she didn't even know his name. Right? So there's no communication there. He can tell you everything about her, but she does not know one thing about him. So we see that it's better to say that rather than saying I love God, it's better to say that we are strengthening our relationship with God. So ladies and gentlemen, early the next day, Ram and Lakshmana set off to this tournament to see who will win the hands of Sita Ma. We sing. Haresh Muni Sabha Muni Barbani, Dinihi Asis Sabahi Sukubhani, Uni Mrigangha Samet Kripala, Dekan Chade Danush Mukasala. As Ram and Lakshmana approached the arena, everyone stared at the two brothers and they stared at his grace. However, everyone perceived him differently. Tulsidashi explains, great warrior kings beheld him as a heroic person. Wicked kings trembled at the sight of him. The demons, disguised as princes, looked at Ram as the incarnation of death, while the citizens regarded them as the jewels of manhood. Everyone's perception of Sri Ram was based on their own personality. The wicked king saw him as a terrible person, and demons saw him as the lord of death. Now why is this? Why didn't they see him all the same way? Isn't it weird that you can take two people, tell them to look at one thing, and they will tell you it's something completely different, right? There's a saying that one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist, because there are great people in this world who try to uplift society, and they die young, because people see them differently than we do. So let me give you an example. Let's say you take 4 men, you blindfold them, and there's an elephant in the room. You tell them to each hold a different part of the elephant. One goes to the legs, one goes to the trunk, one goes to the ears, and the last one goes to the tail. Now you ask each of them, what is an elephant? The one with the legs will say, an elephant is a big, strong pillar. Right? The next one will say, no, you're wrong. An elephant is a big, strong branch. The other one will say, no, both of you are. An elephant is a long, flappy fan. The last one will say, no, all of you are crazy. An elephant is a small, little, bushy rope. It's until you take off the blindfold and take a step back, then you'll see what the bigger picture is. So we must understand to have a bigger picture when it comes to, especially looking at people and also physical things. We should never be closed-minded. Now, as all these powerful kings from all different lands assembled there, including Ravana, attempted to string the bow of Shiva, they could not even lift it. As they retired in shame, then it was Sri Ram's turn. We sing. Lita Chandavan Kai Chat Gande Kahana Laka Deka Sabu Taine Tehi Chana Ramaja Tune Dora Bare Bhuvan Duni Bole Kratora Bare Bhuvan Duni Bole Kratora. As Prabhu Sri Ram approached the bowl, all these kings were laughing at him. He said, what is this skinny boy doing? Right? How can he lift it when I couldn't have even lifted it? All these women were leaning over the balcony, anxious to get a glimpse of the Lord. Some of them were praying for him, and the others were praying against him. However, it is only Sita Ma who knew what was going to happen. Prabhu Sri Ram approached the bowl and lifted it with the utmost of ease. With the instant, he took it with his hands and broke it in two, creating a shockwave that shook 3 worlds. However, the sounds of victory had overcome this sound. Sita Ma placed the garland around Sri Ram's neck. All the devtas rained flowers upon them. As you know, soon to come will be a wedding. We see that, the internal light coming with the utmost of knowledge, coming together to spread light upon everyone. However, as we all know, that with happiness and joy comes sorrow and sadness. So what happens exactly after the wedding of Sita and Ram? I want you to please come tomorrow to find out what happens. So as we conclude here tonight, we'll recap what we have learned. We have learned that in order to appreciate good, we must understand what bad is. We have learned to have patience, for our blessings come differently to everyone. However much knowledge we have, we must remain humble like Prabhu Shri Ram. We must see everything that happens for us happens for the best. We must work on our relationship to strengthen it with God, rather than saying we love God, just like what Sita Ma had done. And finally, we must look at the bigger picture in life, because what we see is not always what exactly it is. Prem se bolo Syapati Ram and Chandra ki Jai. So please join me in this final bhajan, singing the glories of the Lord. Sitaram kaho, Radhe Shyam kaho, 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 Radhe Shyam kaho, Sitaram kaho, Finally, I want to thank you all again for coming, to supporting me here tonight. I'd also like to thank the musicians for backing me up. And I'd also like to thank my Guruji for having confidence in me and putting me up here tonight.
Let's give Brother Sumit a big hand. So, the young man that you see here, his name is Sumit Prashad, and he is 19 years old. Now, if he told any one of you that he's older than that, please disregard it. He's 19 years old. He is studying business administration at Hamburg. He wants to be many things in life, and is still working on defining what those are. But I think he wants to major in human resources. His hobbies are, well, I was asking his brother what his hobbies are, and he says, sleeping. Which is a very good thing, because not a lot of us can have a hobby like that. Sumit actually, in the cultural aspect, he plays harmonium and he plays tabla. And he's a very, very disciplined child. I've known him for a very long time. To be honest with you, when we talked about this, not planned it, about sometime last year, before we got here, I had no idea that Sumit would be part of it. But when we threw it on the table and we said, here's what we're going to do, confidently he said, I want to be part of it. This is actually his first time. This is his first time delivering a kata. Very good. I thought it was nicely done. The challenge you have with boys in Canada to train them to be priests to deliver a lecture. My biggest problem is not to teach them Hindi or Sanskrit or any slinging and all that. My biggest problem is getting them to talk slow. Because they talk so fast. The kids over here, they talk so fast. That presentation that he had was about an hour presentation. He did it in sort of 45 minutes because he talks fast. So I thought he did very well for his first time, and I think there is so much more Sumit if he dedicates his time to what he can achieve. I'm really proud, I'm happy, and I have to say that truly, Sumit, if you really put your mind to this, you will do extremely well. But like anything else, you have to dedicate yourself to it. And he's the first of the 6 going up, and it's sort of paved the path for the rest of the boys to take their pedestal as of tomorrow. This is not a yagya. We haven't called it a yagya because they have to do a lot more to officially be called the vyas and so on, which we will work and make sure that they achieve. That's my goal, to promote them. Today I'm happy because he has done well. I will always be happy as long as they shine. And when they don't shine, I will be sad. So, congratulations, Sumit. I thought you did very well. Friends, I just want to tell you that this 6 sessions of Katha is really not to display their strengths. It is not to display anything that they know best. It is not to compare them with anybody else. The purpose of this 6 sessions of Katha is to boost their confidence and to help them get rid of any fears and anxieties that they have. That is the only purpose of this Katha. I know that naturally we tend to compare people, and we have 5 more coming up, and they're all ready to go. These guys are ready to go. The youngest one is 10, the oldest one is 21. They're all ready to go. I know we tend to compare and say this one is good and that one is not so good. But this is not the purpose. This is not the competition. The purpose here is to help them grow. And if I hear any one of you comparing the boys, I'm going to tell you nicely, don't do that. Because they're not in a position to handle any of that. I beg of you not to ever do that. Compliment them and tell them of all the nice things that they did. And This evening, Sumit did so many nice things. I mean, we have heard this katha so many times, it's like we can recite it by memory because we practiced it. But he gave so many beautiful examples. He gave the analogies. You know, he was engaging with the audience. He was asking questions. He was not only reading and translating. He was making connections with day-to-day life. You know, with the elephant and how he saw God and everything. And so, you know, that was me, right? So, I'm very proud of Sumit, and I can only encourage him. I don't know what these guys will be when they grow up. You know, my duty, however, is to give them as much as they can take now. This is history in this temple, and I believe in Canada, where a temple has produced six young priests from scratch, you know, from scratch. This is history, and this is to show that none of us, including me, do not have a selfish bone in us. There is not an iota of us that is selfish. And we don't only speak that, we display that. I want them to succeed. I want them to do well. I want them to be champions. I want them to do better than me. Because that is the true purpose of a teacher. And our temple will always be recognized for promoting our boys and our children. So let's give Sumit again a wonderful round of applause. I think he's so relieved now. He was telling us in the office, he said, Guruji, I go home tonight and I feel like there's like 100 pounds off my shoulder. You know, and I know what he's going through, trust me. So congratulations again. I'd like to thank as well his parents, Ramayan and Sandy, for being very, very encouraging, very patient with both of the boys. Without the parents, we can't do anything. They are very, very encouraging. They bring the boys out when they need to be here. Every day is not a pleasant day for teaching, all of them. But gosh, when I see them here, that's half of the battle conquered. And the parents must be complimented. So a big hand for Ram and Sandy for the encouragement. I want to introduce to you, every night I'll be doing this, the rest of the boys. Tomorrow night, we will have young Pandit Anil. Please stand up. He'll be delivering his katha tomorrow as well. Thursday night, we will have Sumit's brother, Suraj Prashad. Let's give him a big hand. Friday night, we'll be having Rajiv Prasad. Saturday night, we'll have Bhuvan Ashwar. And Sunday morning, to conclude, we'll have Shankar. These are the students, these are the boys of the future, and I ask and pray that you support them in whatever way you can. Encourage them, give them all the encouragement they need, and tell them about all the good things that they are doing. So please come out every night and support them, guys. I really appreciate it, and they will appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys. Be seated. As well, I'd like to encourage you to. Sorry, I just have a couple of announcements here. As you come for these events, and the events build up, getting up to the weekend, please be up to date with the events of the temple that are coming up. We have our Garu Puran Katha starting from September 21st to the 25th. This is 5 sessions of Garu Puran Katha during Pitri Paksh we do, and the information is on our website. We have Navratri from October 1st to the 9th. Diwali Cultural Show date in October, and our Diwali Gala on November 12th. Please support us with these events as we try to make our society a better place. Today I want to welcome all of you, and at the same time say welcome to Pandit Vishnuji from the Krishna Sudhava Mandir. Thank you for coming, Panditji, and hope you can come again in our future sessions. We have some of Ram and Sami's friends over here. I see Martin Nirvan is here. Martin, good to see you. And we saw the boys from Cambridge as well, Prakash and Ram, and their kids and family. Thank you all for coming on and for supporting this event, this first event. And we hope to see all of you again for the future nights to come. Please come every night and support them. Your presence here means a lot to them. That's how we promote the kids. Thanks again, and we will all stand for our team. Prashad? Prashad? If you have Prashad, please come forward.